I would like to know, does your idea for crowdfunding necessarily need to be a do-good idea? Like, no, I know it sounds bad, but I've watched quite a few of the videos on Vimeo, and a lot of them have that kind of ethos of that, or they're arts funded, or they're going to, you know, provide something for the community, which maybe my business idea will do, but it doesn't feel like it fits with, how do you know?
I don't think it has to be do good. I think people just need to see how it's going to do good for you, like how it's going to help you out. And as long as people can see a value exchange as well about how it's going to do them good, then it works. It can't just be take, but you know, it doesn't have to be I'm going to save the world, or I'm going to go around the country taking pictures of sick kids. You know, like it can definitely be something that's more of a personal project or more of a business project. You just need to give them something.
When it came to creating the actual website and getting it sort of well known on a larger scale, were there any significant challenges you found with developing the website or getting people to hear about it, or like how did you tackle that sort of situation?
I'm not sure if any of you are developers in here, but things always break when you're going on holiday. Without fail, you go on holiday and then everything goes down and you're trying to madly find Wi-Fi. But definitely during the build, we realized that we didn't just want to have one solo developer developing, because then you weren't actually testing and you weren't building something that other people could fix if you went away. So we learned that pretty early on. We actually have done a few iterations of the platform now. And one of the things that we learned when we were early on going out there was it's really hard to do the hard sell on why people should use your platform. It's a lot easier to get people to talk to people they know. So we sort of crowdsourced our marketing at the start. We went out and paid people that we knew who were in the arts sector and in the community sector and in the business sector to talk to their friends. And to do talks and to go out to their networks and promote it that way. And that was it was an easier sell because people were talking to people they knew instead of us doing ads in the paper, which would have been more expensive.
So my question then is about entrepreneurship and crowdfunding. So you're an entrepreneur, and it seems to me that crowdfunding has the potential to absolutely change the landscape, in that the idea of iteration as you refine your product in an entrepreneurial sense can now be done potentially in a crowdfunding way. And also it seemed that you've got a lot of marketing. You've got both market research and marketing happening through the crowdfunding sort of arena. I was just wondering if you want to make some comment on that.
I totally agree. I think you got it. I think crowdfunding is definitely bringing people on earlier on in the process. With companies, you already need to be set up as a company. That's one of the requirements. You need to be a New Zealand registered company. You need to have an idea around, you know, your current financial state and your forecasts and things like that. So there's a bit of work that needs to be done before you're ready to crowdfund, but not so much that, you know, it's not that your product is fully complete and now you're selling it. Like, you can iterate while you go and test things out. I also think that, as I said, that marketing aspect of it is often overlooked, and it's so important because it is getting people to talk about what you're doing in a different way. It's not the hard sell, it's the this is my journey and this is what I'm doing sort of soft sell, good news story.
It's like word of mouth in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the powerful thing, and that's one of the benefits we see to equity crowdfunding is you're turning your customers into investors, so they're brand ambassadors selling what you do even more, because if you're successful, they might get a return. And so they're going to tell their friends to consume your product. You ready?
I think so.
Good.
I'm very, very interested. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure that most people would find that if you need to raise money prior to crowdfunding, it was really, really hard, and you'd had to go through traditional networks, angel networks or VC, and jump through a bunch of hoops and probably not get much, if any response. That said, with the new advent of crowdfunding for equity, are traditional VC and angels actually using this as a tool to invest themselves?
Mm-hmm. So what we're already seeing is syndications with crowdfunding platforms. So angels sort of doing the match funding thing themselves. If the crowd validates it, then they'll get on board as well, and using it to source new deals. The angel scene in New Zealand is really interesting. I've gone and chatted to a lot of the angels, and the majority of them are old white men who have a lot of money. And it's been interesting getting their reaction. You know, some of them are really keen, and some of them are sort of like, well, we invest in disruptive technologies. Why wouldn't we be okay with the disruptive technology coming into our space? Whereas some are sort of like, well, I'm smart. I give smart money. So money from the crowd is dumb. Is this going online? Can I say what I'm about to say? They haven't made the best choices themselves in recent years. You know, their success rate isn't that great. So for them to think that they always make the smart decisions, I think is a little bit scary. But that said, I think that we're not going in competition to the angels. I think we're just complementing what they already do. It's another way to get funding. I still think there's definitely that role for them. Just they might need to grow up a little bit.
I actually have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to raise, say, $50,000, how granular, if you were doing this for equity, could you set each pledge limit for one share of company stock, for example? So
we're definitely recommending people set a minimum pledge, because you probably don't want to have people with, you know, if your shares are $28.50, you probably don't want to have a person with one share. They're sort of cluttering your share register. But at the same time, you want to set it low enough that you're gonna get people in. So we're sort of saying probably the minimum would be $100, maybe $500, and that you not only set your valuation, what's your company worth, but you set a minimum raise. So what's the minimum amount of money you need to make your plans happen? And then a maximum, because you don't want to accidentally sell all of your company. So you need to really think about both of those numbers. And if anyone doesn't understand any of the terminology that I'm using, just shout out, because I actually myself only within the last year have found out what everything means. So I'm totally okay with questions. Yeah.
If an equity crowdfunding capital raising is oversubscribed, what happens, what's the decision around the extra money?
So there's a maximum, and
then it's closed.
Then the technology stops people from pledging. And people can do subsequent rounds. So we've seen overseas people doing, 2 rounds, actually changing the valuation on the second round for the new people coming through. But yeah, you sort of cap it. Some of it is around people often want to keep a certain amount of.
It's a relatively unknown area, isn't it, for valuing businesses for crowdfunding purposes?
Well, that's the big debate, what methodology do you use, or is it really just a stake in the ground? Because really valuations is black magic, who knows? There's lots of different formulas, but at the end of the day, it's what feels right. And is that what crowdfunding's doing, is just showing what the crowd thinks feels right, and validating that.
Now that you've gotten PledgeMe off the ground, it's a relatively successful website, are you looking into developing more websites or doing more, crowdfunding based stuff, or what are you looking to do next?
Well, our biggest thing actually is this equity crowdfunding. Getting that license was a bitch. I used to work for the government, so you'd think that I would be well across bureaucracy. We had 50 supplementary documents on top of the 50 documents they required in order to apply. I have processes for processes. It's pretty insane. So that, now that we've got it, it's implementing it, and I have 2 groups of auditors. So probably stuck on this for a little while we get it going. But definitely interested in 2 areas in New Zealand in the future. One is figuring out how to get more women into technology and more women on boards. So that's not really a business, but I'm really excited to see what we can do to try to support more of that happening. And I'm also really excited about the growth of social enterprise in New Zealand. So the idea that you're not just doing business for the financial return, but also the social impact. So, yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much, Fishbowl. Stay where you are. I'm going to press the go button in a minute. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take the breakout. So you have till just about 7 o'clock, 15 minutes to madly put together your team, recruit who you want, and we've got probably slots for 2 or 3 presentations to Anna. Feel free to talk to Anna and anybody else during the session, during the breakout, as you put together your rough first prototype of a pitch. Okay, lights, camera, cut.